2021 State of the Nation Address, or also known as Talumpati sa Kalagayan ng Bansa, has officially commenced at the plenary session hall of the Batasang Pambansa Complex in Batasan Hills, Quezon City. This will be broadcasted to all news stations live as the President will be addressing the nation's current economic, political, and social condition. Additionally, we will be hearing a summary of the accomplishments and plans of their program of government, both for a particular year and until the end of the term of office.
That's my president.
My fellow Filipino people, in front of you is a strong-minded and confident, a very brave woman to be standing in front of you on this podium. Standing beside me today are two of the most trustworthy people during my term of office. One being Vice President Lakap, and the other one being the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Al-Subay. Today, I will be addressing some of the most controversial topics and most significant things to understand. They may be out of the ordinary, but they are something needed to be understood by us regular human beings. I will get straight to the point and hit the main targets. Today, we will be discussing about how to understand different types of speeches in accordance to their purpose and manner of delivery for our oral communication subjects. Welcome back to the Gurung Vlogger ng Kuwait channel. We are Group 6, and today we will be discussing something very important when it comes to oral communication. When it comes to being a good oral communicator, it also takes one to be good at identifying the little knickknacks in oral communication that they must improve on. We've gone through the obstacles of actually learning how to communicate with certain verbal intonations to going forward and interacting with other people without even needing to use any words. And today, we are graduating. Going on to another new level of certain factors we have to consider when it comes to oral communication, involving a new and larger audience, as well as a scared little crybaby like you. Although, do not fret, as we, Group 6, is here to guide you and learn more about how we are going to understand oral communication in certain aspects of the subject. So today, we will be teaching you how to understand the different types of speeches. Speech can be defined as mere talking, something that I am doing right now. We humans are able to use speech on a daily basis in order to interact with other people. Well, we can also define speech as the specific style one uses in order to speak. Similarly, an accent. Though today, we will be talking about how speech can be a formal address or discourse delivered to an audience. So, set aside your shyness and put in some confidence, baby, as no one wants a little crybaby on their team. We're going to teach you on how we're going to deal with the crowd.
Giving out a speech to an audience has many key elements to understand and a lot of different points to follow. But before actually going ahead and do your speech, we must firstly understand types of speech based on the purpose and manner the speaker sought to give out to their audience. Firstly, a speech according to purpose is basically the intention of the speech to be delivered. The purposes involved are the goals of speech. It becomes obvious as the speaker shows through the speech what he or she wants to achieve. The speaker, through the speech, can make one think, change one's mind, smile, or laugh. A good speech, in accordance to its purpose, will be able to clearly showcase the goal of the message which the speaker is trying to give to the audience.
The purposes of formal speech are studied in order to deepen one's knowledge and learn how to apply the certain factors that come with it into their own formal speech. The three types of speech according to purpose are the expository or informative speech, persuasive speech, and entertainment speech. Firstly, we have the informative or expository speech. Informative or expository speech is basically speech with the simple purpose to inform the audience listening to a speaker. Informative speeches tend to be fulfilled with pure data and only minimal opinions. It relies heavily on research and historical data in order to grasp a purely accurate view the speaker needs to cite to their audience. Informative speakers are able to captivate the audience into learning about a new topic they may or may not be familiar with in the first place. There are several reasons why an informative speech is given out. Firstly, it may be completely new to the audience. Secondly, the data incorporated in the speech is not available to everyone, so some members of the audience may not know about the topic at hand, or they want to see a different view regarding the topic, and they are going to listen to the speaker to learn more. A subcategory of informative speech can considerably be demonstrative speech. The purpose of demonstrative speech is to instruct people on how to do a certain thing. Basically, we are informing the audience about instructions regarding something they need to do. Basically, you are the verbal orator of an instruction manual or a talking guide. Demonstrative speech is considered by many to be under informative speech, as it informs the people on how to do things. Though it may be its own type of speech, it is still an inferior way to inform others.
Now that we have explained the gist of informative speech, it is important to follow specific guidelines that will truly perfect it, and further expand your knowledge regarding the purpose of informative speeches when we choose to make it. Such speech must follow three important guidelines. 1. The message to be given must be prepared at the level of knowledge of the speaker that it does not go overboard or under the rug. The speaker must be able to edit their speech beforehand in order to make sure that their credentials as a speaker cannot be contradicted due to horrible content within the speech. Secondly, the informative speech must be balanced to a level of knowledge of the audience. In other words, the speech must be comprehensible by an ordinary person, as using complex terminology or major subcategory topics of subjects can completely confuse your audience if they are simply ordinary people. And lastly, a speaker must always consider the demographics of your audience, which would include the age, gender, social status, religion, and the cultural affiliation. This is because you'll need to adjust your speech in a way that it doesn't lean into being offensive or ignorant towards your audience. If these were young people, it would be best to stray away from inappropriate topics or terminology to be used. Considering the demographics of your audience, which could improve a speaker's skills as it helps them easily adjust to their environment before a speech.
It is very important to understand informative speech, as it teaches a speaker how to properly give information or inform others without having to need the use of persuasion. Informative speech is usually used in certain events, such as in educational institutions that teach lessons, recreational center for the arts, news stations, and many more. Breaking news! The Filipino professor Dr. Romel Ramos has rightfully won the Grammy Award for being the best oral communication teacher at the Grammy Awards show in the United States tonight. Here is Ms. Lakap to report about it.
Thank you, Ms. Caparos. Dr. Romel has rightfully won the Grammy Awards for the best oral communication teacher at the annual Grammy Awards.
Greetings, everyone. My name is Kylie Caparos, and I will be presenting this award to my lovely colleague, Professor Romel Ramos. Let me educate you about all of his achievements. he has been able to rack up tons of achievements throughout his educational background in the industry. And there is no doubt that the statistics shown from the Harvard Educational Board are completely accurate, showcasing his top-notch percentage amongst the 99.99% success rate percentile. According to the Hetchinger report, 96.9% of all teachers are fabulous at their jobs, though only 41.9% of this are highly effective in students' education, which is topically rare considering the millions of teachers around the world. Included here is Sir Romel Rams's work. A round of applause as we welcome him on stage.
It has been said that it was a decision made upon a jury of thousands of high-ranking professors, as well as English PhD holders. Additionally, tons of praises were given to the doctor, have blown up on social media, and given the rightful recognition towards him.
Thank you, Ms. Lockup. We will now be going into a short break. Please stay tuned in order to hear more of the best news.
Now we'll be moving on to the next type of speech according to purpose, which is persuasive type of speech. The persuasive type of speech purpose is to persuade or convince the audience to alter the opinions or belief of the audience by convincing them through reasoning and by providing them with data to shift their opinion. Being a very assertive type of speech, this speech uses manipulation as one of its key factors in changing people's opinion, backed up with credible evidence that gather data from experts, historical findings, and more. The speaker should be able to contradict the opinions of the audience that may not be in the favor with the speaker with valid data. Under this speech is motivational speech. Motivational speech is basically a speech that motivates listeners positively into doing something, usually their goals. It may also be classified under persuasion motivational speech or persuade an individual positively. The only difference being there is no contradictions of opinion, rather only positive encouragement of persuasion to persuade the audience into going through with something.
Persuasive speech, just like informative speech, must be formulated to follow a set of certain guidelines. These include being able to give information that may be exotic to the audience. It must also be able to fit the knowledge of the audience so you are not talking down to them and not going overboard. Try to find a loophole where you are directly talking to your audience on the same level they are on. Additionally, consider the demographics of your audience. This includes the age, gender, social status, religion, and cultural affiliation in order to set up an appropriate speech that will efficiently persuade your audience. The art of persuasion in speech can be used in various institutions, such as in court, Senate hearings, in debate halls, meeting rooms, educational institutions, usually during thesis defense activities, and many more.
The jury will now commence the debate regarding the topic of oral communication, beneficial or not. First on the podium is the negative side. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to state our opinion regarding the topic at hand. Oral communication is not needed for our everyday lives, as we do not need to know such confusing topics just to interact with people. We can simply rely on our communication instinct.
Apologies, though your stand is undeniably incorrect due to your false beliefs that bring oral communication as a very important subject down. Your Honor, oral communication is needed for our everyday lives as it helps us understand every type and view of communication to properly assert the effort of interacting with humanity. Many do not realize how crucial studying this subject is due to the mere fact that it involves literacy and encourages people to learn more about how to communicate with confidence and clarity.
Well, oral communication wastes our time when we can simply just talk.
Actually, there's more to oral communication than just merely talking, as we have strategies made in human instinct to talk even without words. And time is up. Thank you for your great stands. The jury will decide the winner at the end of the event.
The final type of speech is entertainment speech. The speech has the major goal to entertain the listeners. Entertainment speech must lead the audience into looking at something familiar in a totally different and completely humorous light by providing comparisons and contrasts, especially with the strange or unusual, highlighting the quirks of important personages such as officials, celebrities, actors, and athletes, and applying them to regular people, like, say, the listeners, or assigning human characteristics to inanimate objects. Basically, we can give out an entertaining speech through telling a story, fable, funny testimony, and more. Squeezing in some funny acronyms and puns, corny jokes, and more also on considerably an addition to entertainment speech. It is not completely to joke around, but to grasp the intention of the viewers positively. Moreover, entertainment speech must also follow the same guidelines as the previous ones. It must be prepared at the level of knowledge of the speaker. It must be tailored to fit the level of knowledge of the audience. And the demographics must also be considered.
So basically, entertainment speech is usually a controversial type of speech due to the people who take it in a wrong manner and do not understand the pure guidelines on how to formulate an entertainment speech. Certain jokes are considered controversial in our modern day era, yet many tend to abuse the opportunity to say such things through passing it off as entertainment speech. So it is important to follow the guidelines so as not offend anyone when using this type of speech, as well as not immorally using it.
To be more generalized, when preparing for these 3 types of speeches, always remember to note the following. The speech follows the purpose. If it is informative, it should inform. If it is persuasive, it should persuade. And if it is for entertainment, it should be entertaining. Secondly, make sure it follows the guidelines given about each speech. Thirdly, edit any errors before giving out the speech. And lastly, practice your speech before giving it out to your audience.
These 3 types of speech in accordance with the purpose of making a speech: informative or expository speech, persuasive speech, and entertainment speech, alongside their inferiors of demonstrative and motivational speech, must be given the correct treatment to accurately be portrayed to the audience. When giving out a speech in accordance to its purpose, it is also important to know the way of delivery or manner to treat our speech. In order to do this, we will be welcoming you to the Hall of Fame.
Welcome to the Museum of Speech according to manner of delivery. Here we will be giving you a fun tour around our museum, showing you many portraits of the great manners. The first portrait we will be viewing is that of the reading or speaking from a manuscript.
Salutations, everyone. My name is the manner of speaking or reading from a manuscript. Usually, I am utilized in formal speech context, especially when what is to be said must be very important and is static. Speakers who use me usually type out a completely written out speech beforehand, printed out and placed onto a folder for neatness. This manner of delivery helps a speaker bring out all of their ideas precisely and aim for adequacy, although there are lots of negatives when it comes to using me. Speakers may usually read without emotion and contain little to no variation of intonations, lack of spontaneity, and it may even sound boring. A speaker may also never look up from the manuscript, losing a connection of the audience, and all the audience would be seeing your bald spot on your scalp. Since the speaker is reading from a manuscript, usually they can lose their position in reading or they may turn to the wrong page. Additionally, any in-house air unit may also blow out the papers and disarrange them. Lastly, the language used may be too complex or an overuse of jargon. The listeners are lost in such language unless they are experts in the same field. And this is why I am an important part of it. I'm so sorry.
Examples of reading a manuscript in speech include the State of the Nation address by the President of the Republic of the Philippines and presentations of scientific papers in conferences.
The next portrait of manner that we'll be viewing is memorized speech.
Greetings, everyone. My name is the manner of memorization. Speakers usually use me in order to give out a speech based on soul memory. Usually, they write out a long script of what they have to say and then memorize it prior to the date of the speech to be given. Although despite being a really good type of manner to give a speech, there are still some cons that we need to consider. A speaker may usually forget their lines because they are basing this off on their sole memory. Secondly, a speaker may disconnect from their audience, as when they are trying to remember their lines, they are too focused on trying to remember them rather than connecting with their audience. So their eyes may be shifted to somewhere else, or their gestures may not be in sync with their words. So they feel disconnected with the speaker.
Memorized speech is usually used in oratorical contests or events. Since we have tackled the first two typed and well-constructed speeches, let's go to the next one that's a complete opposite.
The next portrait is labeled as the impromptu speech.
What's good, shawty? What's poppin'? My name is the manner of impromptu. Speakers usually use me when they are going to give out a speech last minute. Sometimes, speakers need to use their natural knowledge and experiences in life because they are given little to no preparation beforehand when giving an impromptu speech. Despite being a very independent speech, speakers also face certain cons. Firstly, they may go out of topic as this is based on their knowledge without any preparation at all. Secondly, they may continue to ramble on about the topic without making any sense at all with the audience. So the audience is basically confused with the speakers.
Well, as we let her ramble, impromptu speeches can be done in many events, especially during recognition exercises, where the guest of honor is tasked to make an impromptu speech. The next manner of speech we will be viewing is a portrait of extemporaneous speech.
Hey there, I am extemporaneous speech. Usually, I can be mistaken to be a memorized type of speech wherein I have memorized a really good and well-written paper. Or I can be considered as impromptu speech because of my spontaneity. Well, in fact, I'm actually reading from an outline that I have. Extemporaneous speech can be of a mix-up of memorization and impromptu, as I am basically memorizing the outline that I'm supposed to follow when giving my speech. When giving out an extemporaneous speech, speakers like to have little notes or flashcards in order to remind them about the certain points they have to tackle. A good organized outline has certain tidbits of information wherein it is prepared properly. This is what they call outline preparation, wherein the speaker, beforehand from giving the proper speech, they will research this type of information that they need to tackle and summarize it into small flashcards. Following these flashcards, they'll be able to expand information, not going overboard or not going under the rug, but just enough to be adequate content for the listeners.
That is the end of our tour. These four types of manner in speech delivery is crucial in attending to the way we treat our speeches.
Again, we have three kinds of speech according to purpose. These are the informative speech with the purpose to inform, the persuasive speech with the purpose to persuade, and the entertainment speech with the purpose to entertain. All of these serve on their own purposes for different showcases, events, and intonations when delivered. And following that, the four types of speech in accordance to manner are the reading from a manuscript, where the speaker merely reads from a script, memorized speech, where one memorizes a completely typed out speech, impromptu speech, which is done on the spot, and an extemporaneous speech, which is done by memorizing an outline to jump from one point to another.
And now that we are aware about the different types of speech in accordance to its purpose and manner of delivery, we will now be able to properly formulate a certain type of speech to fit ourselves and the audience who will be respectfully listening to us. Thanks again for stopping by to watch another vlog. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!